Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Now, welcome to the desert. Las Vegas is home to our first double header of the season. And what a season it has been so far. 4 rounds done, 2 winners both with 2 wins each. The standings are certainly looking very tight indeed. But we have round 5 and 6 for you of this Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Oval Series. Myself, Cam Roger, Justin Prince in the commentary booth for today's action. And as I say, 2 races coming your way. But here's the schedule and what we're looking at over the course of the next few months. We've been to Daytona, Kansas, Bristol, and of course Auto Club Speedway 2 weeks ago. But we come to Las Vegas for 2 races, 62 and 83 laps coming your way this evening before we go all the way to Talladega at the end of the regular season, and then 5 rounds of the playoffs to crown your champion at Homestead, Miami, all the way in May 2024. But who is going to be the champion? We don't know just yet. The point system is obviously up and down, going all over the place. But Eric Blix and Jesper Eriksson, they've had 2 wins apiece, and they're separated by just 6 points in those bonus points as well. So that could very easily change. We've got Brostrom, Havlardarson there coming in 3rd and 4th place. Jonas Skoglund is also the sponsor of today's race, but look at how close the points are. Everything can change as we look for that top 15 to make it into the playoffs, but still a lot of kilometers to be had between now and then. It's certainly going to be a very fun one here for the Roll the Dice by Trashcar custom double header, and Justin, is going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure. First time we've had the 2 races. We've got a reverse grid coming for that second race as well. It's going to be a lot more open than ever.
Yes, indeed, and thank you very much for having me once more for today as we get ready here at the Progressive Banked Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Keep in mind when it comes to this racetrack today, some various drivers test out both the top and the bottom groups to see which line would be the best, which lines would run the best in terms of the tire wear today. That's going to be very critical at a track like this because when it comes to Las Vegas, the fall-off already expected to be pretty big by the time we reach lap 15 today. With the track temperatures being fairly high throughout today's festivities, expect tire wear to be pretty big around these 20 degrees plus of banking of turns as they try and rip their way through the pack, especially in the early going where it's expected to be 2 to 3 wide to start.
Yeah, certainly going to be probably a race where we talk about tyres quite a lot. In this one, we have a stage of 25 laps in the first race and 35 in that second race. So really, you want to be running that full length to get the extra bonus points that come from this. We've seen a nice drift there from this is Daniel Sola having a nice crash there, but also just sliding it there coming through turns 1 and 2. Certainly, going to be a big talking point, as you say, Justin, with these tyres. I think with the massive drop-off that we see, it's going to be very strategic. With when drivers try and come in, when cautions come out as well, people are going to really want to come in and get on those fresher tyres. And with the amount of cautions that we've seen over the course of the season so far, we had 5 last time out at Auto Club. I'm expecting a few more here today.
Yeah, there is a chance for a fair bit actually in the early going because it's very easy to get very snap loose on the opening laps of the cold tires with the next gen car, but even more so. Some of the more common mistakes some drivers have seen and made here at this racetrack over the recent months. Lots of drivers push out of turn 4, knock the wall down, they go off into the grass. The issue on pit entry today. You end up potentially hitting some of the bumps there, spin the car out, trying to get to one of the hardest pit entries in all of the sport when it comes to NASCAR. In turn, though, for today, it's going to be about being patient, but also track position is so critical for a track like Vegas in this package. It's very hard if you don't have the track position to be the conversation about it for the race win as Linus Brostrom moves himself inside the top 5 in qualifying.
Yeah, awesome. Look at that. 6 drivers even inside 1/10 of a second. It's interesting to see Bohlin there up in the 29 machine on the provisional pole with just a minute to go, down in 33rd place in the standings after the first 4 rounds and putting it potentially on the front row. Awesome stuff. Of course, your regular names there. Linus Brunström up there in second place, 71 machine, of course, series organized as well. Eric Blixt, your championship leader coming into this race. He is down in 3rd place as well. But as ever, the times so close. 1.5 mile track today and some very fast cornering speeds as ever as we're coming into this final lap in qualifying. Homer jumps up into the top 8.
And with a lot of those drivers up towards the front, it's going to be very interesting how they respond as the race goes on to the run. Some drivers in the midst of the pack win as high as 3/10 quicker in regards to how they were in final practice. So those speeds can be very critical. It's also critical to be able to maintain some of that draft while also battling that aero watch in the midst of the corners here today. Looking at some of the drivers like Force, though, they'll have a long way up because they didn't get a good enough build up on speed. It looks like they are 19th in qualifying. The 78 car is, at least.
Yeah, things can change around very quickly. 24 of Aronson there jumps up into your pole position with a final lap there coming in. Aronson is having a pretty strong season, at least when it comes to the first half of the race, but can't quite seem to put it together as we get later on into the sessions. As P11 in the championship is the Force Esports driver, but certainly had a pole position before and has led quite a few laps already this season, but it does look like that is the end of the qualifying session. But with how the races are going to go, I know they're short to sort of sprint style races, but the qualifying isn't always everything around here, especially if you can manage your tires a little bit well, if you can do a bit of good strategy to pit at the right time, maybe come under a good caution, but certainly have to find out what is going to go on there. Aronson gets your pole position with Bohlin on that front row. Broström, Blixt, Holmgren and Gunnarsson round out your top 6. Of course, Gunnarsson, your reigning champion, trying to come back, but 7th in the championship. As it stands, and we'll certainly be wanting to improve on that. Lindorf and Ullman on your front 4 rows. Holman, Hafnadarsson in your top 10. Salander and Schurp inside your front 6 rows of the grid. And good to see lots of representation from multiple teams up towards the front. Fredriksson and Johansson there on your 7th row with Solo, who we saw crashing just then, putting in P15 with Zachrisson in 16th place. Lundberg and Bjorn Broström there in 18th place. Fors, Fagrel in the top 20. Helmbro, Lundell inside your top 22, Skuglerson and Schott inside your top 24. And I do believe we have a pretty stacked field today, so we'll let some of the other drivers just roll down. But big name there, Jesper Eriksson inside your top 30. Of course, 2nd place in the championship, 2-time race winner this season. But he'll be starting from the 15th row of the grid. So he's got a lot of work to do alongside his teammate Marcus Hagman there inside your top 29. But certainly a difficult one potentially for some of these drivers a little bit lower down, with Tier rounding out your 32 car field. We've had a total of 45 drivers enter over the course of the season so far. And Justin, what are you thinking on the strategy? We've got, of course, the shorter race to start, just 62 laps. 25 laps is the caution. How do you think, the stage I should say, how do you think they're going to play this one?
Well, with the fuel limit here for today, about 8% on the gas tank, that's about 47 laps at the most in terms of fuel. I think for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. You get to the stage, then you elect to go to the pits or try and stretch it a little bit, potentially, if you're got the time at least to take the overcut, or need to take the undercut to be able to try and make up some ground and feel more comfortable with the rubber build up. So there's a little bit of leeway there, but not necessarily too much. It's where the second race comes into play. I think there's a bit more leeway on the strategy, where there's a lot more laps to be able to manage and work with to plan things out. Now, that being said, if we have cautious precautions, we could potentially have a very different race. All it takes is a caution the first 10 laps or so. We might see some drivers be able to try and save some gas if they get a couple more, if not a perfectly timed yellow, to get to the end of the stage, or in the first race especially.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. It's the 5th round of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. We've got a 62-lap race here to start. The Roll the Dice by Trashcar Custom. It's going to be a lot about tire wear. It's going to be a lot about getting your car in place at the right time. It's not going to be an easy race battle here in Las Vegas Motor Speedway. A tricky 1.5-mile circuit to come to this evening, but remember, we have a second race where the top 20 will be reversed from the results of this one. Let's see how it opens up as we get to the green flag here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the 5th round of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. Eracingligan there from the start gets a pretty good run, actually holds that inside line nicely, getting a bit of a push there by Linus Brewster.
Looked to be the wrong gear maybe for Bohlin because he didn't get going whatsoever in that 29. Well, that battled up the top side, but that's even better for the bottom side because that opens up the ability for them to quickly get the clean space to the bottom of the racetrack, get away from some of the traffic as the cold tires may cause some slideys here on the corner.
Bohlin's really dropped back there. It's about sort of 4th, 5th place coming across the line for the first time. Of course, there's Eric Blix just on the outside line. Gunnarsson in behind. The All-Tech drivers trying to work their way up. We all know they like to work as a team. I think it's one of the other teammates just coming in behind them as well. So we're coming side by side out of turn 2 here on the second lap of the races. Brewstrom coming to the inside line as we come down into turn 3.
Right Esports on the inside. You also have Force Esports on the outside. That's going to be the top part. Right now, Ericsson trying to hold on to the bottom side, try and force the pinch. Brostrom right now is a lot tight on the bottom of the racetrack, having trouble with the bumps. There's a lot more in 1 and 2, keep in mind, to stick it down to the bottom. Lots of drivers prefer the middle, even the early going.
Yeah, it looks like that line is working out really well. Blix is coming on that outside line. He's actually going for that second place already. Brewster not having the run that he would have wanted off turn 2. And that is Blix dropping down, trying to cover off Brewster. And he has done on the exit of turn 4 as well. So there's a little bit of a squeeze there slightly. It's Gunnarsson on that outside line. And look at them all lining up on that outside line. We've got Ullman and Hafidasson there. All the Alcantech cars running that middle line.
Now, keep in mind, the bottom line is better for the tire saving long term. The problem is, if someone gets you outside, you're having to turn more basically when you have somebody to that group to make sure you don't slam into them on that corner exit. Burns up more of that right front. So eventually we'll see that line switch a bit, but for the time being, one of the best ways to defend when it comes to the next-gen car is that exact method we're already seeing and talked about a touch bit. Squeeze the component down, force them to get off the gas, get the better exit on the corner and get the track position.
Brewster is holding it there quite nicely though, but look at all the teammates around him, all the Alcantech cars, always getting a bit loose there coming off turn 2, pushing each other down towards the inside there, 3 wide, as well Gunnarsson on the outside there, Ullman Hafidasson just on the inside of him, as they try and work all 3 lines coming through turns 3 and 4, very tight there between the teammates, but they all continue on as we come on to the next lap. Ayrton's still leading the way nicely up towards the front, but it's the battles in behind that starting to just open up a bit of a gap for that top 3.
And that can come into play with the side draft forces, especially if you're side-by-side too long, even though it's a bit of a pack race to start off with this package right now. For the most part, though, you have to be able to settle on it. You have to be able to group up. Not liking some of the lines, though, for the 021. He nearly clipped the cars in front. Danny Soul nearly got set for a ride because of how tight that Chevy went.
And we're already going to be seeing some tyre wear coming into it by lap 10, lap 15 of the stint. And of course, we've got to get to lap 25 for the first stage of the evening in this first race of the day. Remember, 2 races coming your way, which means 2 stages over the course of the 2 races. We don't have cautions at the stages. We continue green, so it's a bit of a battle for when you want to do your pit stop. Of course, you want to get past that lap 25, but then when do you want to pit? Because that still leaves a long 37-lap run to the checker. It's going to be a very difficult one to choose when you want to do that. So definitely a big factor for the teams to work into as it stands. So Ayrton is leading the way quite nicely. They've worked themselves into a bit of a single file formation. There's a bit of a wobble there coming through turn 2.
And this is exactly what I was nervous about, was seeing that push up tight. And that's a problem when you have somebody who needs to basically keep full throttle. That time having to get out of it was Holmgren. Very lucky he didn't make contact, trying to slip it underneath Salander up on the bottom of the apron and the edge of the racetrack.
The drivers starting to maybe start to feel the effects as we see the different lines still being used even a bit further down in the field here, trying to work their way up. Of course, we have points pretty much for every single driver, but the important ones are up towards the front. It's basically 1 point per position for every position after the top one is 50 for a win, 45 for second place, and then 44 and so on all the way down for every single driver. We then have 10 points for a stage win, 10 points down to 1 for the top 10 as well. So that's why we're going to be seeing the drivers try to fight all the way to the front and get inside that top 10 at lap 25.
Now, you mentioned, looks like we're seeing fall off is what you had mentioned. Times themselves haven't fallen off yet, but it's more so the more further back you go in this pack, it's almost a draft ball where everyone's locked into a line into place right now, for the most part. But that threshold we talked about a little bit with some of the drivers before today's race, especially with Lance for today. Once you get to that lap 15 point, that's where that cut's really expected to come into play, where you have that fall off that goes up significantly. Right now it's only a 10th, but it is like a cliff when it comes to these tires. If you aren't careful on how you have your motions, how you are lined up in the draft, how further back you are in terms of a draft pack compared to some of those with clean air up the very front of a draft pack, we're talking about potentially differences of 10% of the tire wear depending on where you are in the field.
And that's definitely something that drivers need to try and just work out over the course of the stint. As Fredriksson going around the outside of Scherps. They battle side by side down this back straight away, coming in towards turns 3 and 4. There's 11 on the sort of the midline there, trying to hold that momentum to the outside. It looks like it's working fairly nicely. We'll have a bit of draft, though actually that's the I think it's 15 just dropping down a little bit in front of giving the draft to the inside line as the teammates continue to go side by side around the outside. Seem to try and make it stick for now.
I think this is where that bottom line is really coming to play now, though, because it's shorter distance around. You're having to go higher up, which in turn puts a lot more weight potentially on those right side tires here in Las Vegas. We talked about it's one of those tracks where the higher up you go, the more tighter you usually get. It's so important to be able to just get the right angle into the corner in the first place. And that's where those who stuck it to the bottom early on are going to really benefit compared to those who basically try to charge ahead and gain 5-10 spots up on the top. Now it's getting a little bit too dicey here because you can see it right there. Dennis Schroep is trying to fight the car to make sure it doesn't push up and knock the wall down. And trying to go down the track in turn because of it.
Yeah, they're getting very wiggly there coming through turn 2. As there's, of course, now is under attack still from that 112 machine Fredriksson on the inside line for the Fords Esports drivers. They've been going side by side for about 3 or 4 laps now. Neither of them is giving up. They're keeping that momentum. But I just wonder, is this the smartest thing to do? Because surely they're just using a little bit more time than they would have wanted. But Scherp manages to come out of their teammates. They're not, of course, superior top dogs there for the number 11 machine. As the 112 once again goes to that inside line, tries to get the run coming off turn 3. Comes high, comes higher, but just in the end not having enough space. Dan Holmer in the 79 ahead of them. Also just a slightly, of course, changing lines and maybe changing where they want to put the car themselves to get the drive.
We are reaching that fall off band, by the way. Fall off now reaching about half a second depending on where drivers are in the field. Now here's the big thing. For Eracingligan up in the front of the field, it's a great signal right now. If you're in the midst of the pack like this, you're probably saying, okay, I'm getting very tight. The closer you get to some of these cars, the tighter it's going to be the rest of the way here. If you're amongst those trying to slice through, such as Eric Lundberg right here, you have to watch, find your hole, be able to find the right hole, and once that hole opens up, you have to go. You can't be patient here, because if you're too patient, 9 times out of 10 with this car, it usually opens up the door for somebody else to make a move, or you end up losing that opportunity for at least 5-6 laps. Lundberg right now is absolutely trying to fly up the track, and it's almost pushing up with the splitter.
Oh, look at this. Bohlin is dropping down, but someone who's not is Lindhoff there. And the 8 machines made 2 places in a couple of laps there. Is this starting to be a slight bit of a difference maybe between the cars? Salander dropping down. A gap is opening up ahead. Almost a second to Dan Solo in the 13 machine. As we're going to see, is some of the drivers going to be starting to struggle over the course of the next few laps there. Building another couple of car lengths over the next couple of turns there. But Salander's diving into turn 3, still looking very good. Bohlin, of course, from that front row, dropping down now into that 10th place. And Holmgren might be trying to come up the inside too here on the front straight.
And setting it up on the run. No chance right now for the time being. Bohlin, I think, is the one that really might be thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do to be able to get this ground back, make these moves? Because Bohlin, a little bit tighter with the draft right now. Salander seeming to be very sliding right now on those tires. You can see it with the arc even though. Salander's taking a very wide arc. Some of the others, though, towards this back grouping, They're trying to charge up the top of the racetrack, like up in the front. They're very stable, trying to keep minimal movements whenever they're trying to go single file like this.
Remember, lap 25 is the stage for just 5 more laps of racing. And that's why you might start to see some opportunities opening up. There's always a big slide there coming off turn 2 for Ericsson. He's going to lose the lead for Blix. Maybe there was some contact, or maybe that was just him sliding, not getting the traction that he would have wanted out of that turn 2. And up the inside, I think it's going to be Gunnarsson on Brewstrom as well. Unless Brewstrom just hold it on that outside line, as we're also now starting to see the Alcantech cars coming to the front. Hafnarson there up the inside of the 24 as well as we come on to lap 21, getting closer and closer to that stage.
I almost wonder if Erlandson, with Eric Blitz, how close he was getting there, got the air taken off the spoiler. And for those who wonder, basically, if you get to a certain point, you have that chance where you can just be able to get close, make the car in front of you loose, and bobble around. It almost seemed to be that possible way. Erlandson, very lucky he was able to save the car at least, because this is a car that is extremely difficult to be able to save once it gets snapped loose.
Yeah, big moment actually, because of course if that came out, there'd have been a caution right before the stage as well, which is always something a little bit tricky for the strategy as such. We've seen Gunnarsson still trying to get past Brewster, but he's actually lost some momentum there coming off too, as the 42 of Anton Ullman is going to come all the way around his outside. He runs up a little bit deep though into the corner. He might just have Gunnarsson slide up in front of him, which he does as we come across the line onto lap 23, so 3 more to go, including this one. But remember, we stay green, but are people going to dive into pits straight away on lap 26, or are they going to stay out a bit longer and try and have the nicer tyres in that second stint?
I think at this point, it's down to part preference, part where are you on the racetrack, part what are your competitors doing on the racetrack. Because here's the thing, usually in most cases, people like to follow the same type of window, where they've been able to practice, test it out, okay, what's going to work here. If you go too long, it could be your 10 seconds back in the span of 5 laps further compared to the average strategy. If you end up going too early, you get 10 seconds up on the track, but you're bleeding up to 2-3 tenths per lap once the fall-off comes into play. So it's down again to what the preference is on the set, what the preference is of the track, and if you actually have the bumper time to get the fresher tires to be able to take off at the back end of the run, the second run.
Yeah, of course, green flag pit stops always jumping back into the field, but we come on to lap 25. So the end of this, we decide who gets those extra 10 bonus points. The top 10 getting points all the way down there as well to 1 point for that 10th position. So this is important for the championship so far. Blix is only leading the championship on the extra bonus points compared to Jesper Eriksson, who, by the way, is still way down. He won't be getting any extra bonus points this time, but around 3 and 4 is going to be Eric Blix. Is Hafnarson going to get a bit of a run towards the line? Also, Brewstrom there trying to hold on inside the top 4. But as we come across the line to end the first stage of the day, it's going to be Eric Blix getting the extra 10 points, but we continue. Green flag, of course, as Eriksson there, he unfortunately went across the line in 3rd place, but he gets 2nd into turn 2.
Yeah, well done for Eric Blitz. He's been very quick. He's very quick in official race for a reason, but if Finison's up on the wall, that could have been very bad for everyone else. That all really signaled from 3 and 4 coming to that line. You may notice how close the 24 got. It was the same thing that happened to Erlandson when he was the leader. Got within about a tenth of a car length, if not less, to the back bumper. Forced the Ford up in front of him to get loose. And now, Finison's struggling, and Erlandson's looking for the lead already.
The driver's working so hard to keep these cars in control as they still try and fight for these positions. Of course, all of this top 10 or top 9 really are in a big battle. 1.5 seconds separating all of them has come onto lap 27 now already. Just have the Darson there, of course, in 2nd place at 1 point. Now drops down to 4th as Brewstrom tries to get the run on the outside to complete the move, and yes, he does. And Gunnarsson still right in behind as well as Eriksson comes back to the front. He dropped down into 3rd place, but he should have that move up the inside. So obviously he can keep that momentum, but Blix on the outside should have the bit of a run down the back straight, but he should just come up. Yes, the 24 does to take back the lead.
Too far back for Blix to be able to go for the cross-up, and now, if you're Eric Blix, this potentially opens up the window, because right now, at least one driver at home are electing to come down, but now, you can potentially split the race in half in about a couple laps' time. You see the drivers up on the tracks. Keep in mind, you can lose a lap likely around this racetrack, depending on where you're at, but right now, if it cycles the full way, that's where you're hoping, of course, it obviously stays green. the keyboard on that cycles throughout the window. Salander and several more calling for pit stop this time.
Yes, I think it's potentially that time for some of these drivers who want to get a bit of an undercut, get on those fresher tyres, try and gain a few seconds. But of course, depending on if and when cautions come out, that might affect this strategy. But sometimes you've got to be a bit bold, especially when you're dropping down the way as Salander was. He's really starting to struggle there just a little bit. As Blix has dropped down into third place, Brewstrom has got him. Ericsson's almost got a half-second lead towards the front as well. So definitely some big battles going on here. These drivers now need to work out when is their pit time. Is that the 95 staying low coming into the pits? Is that going to be? Yes, it is. Braking, slowing down. So Blix first of this top lot to come in. He's got a couple of teammates coming in behind as well. I think that's Urman also coming in down solo.
It's team strategy, and one thing when it comes to teammates, usually you like to stagger some of them actually, so you don't have all your teammates come in at once, and then you end up having 3 of them crash into each other. So now it's going to be the matter of the counterpoint though, because the undercut just came in from Blix. If Blix has a good pit exit here, Eraldson might actually lose the lead because of that 1 lap undercut. There's a difference of about a second per lap plus in the fall already.
And he looks like he's going to come in to respond, but Brewstrom, Havadarsson, they stay out. They try and go a bit longer and try to see if something happens. And a lot of drivers, of course, still staying out as well. So split strategies between a lot of the drivers up towards the front. Of course, there's no point necessarily always following exactly what your competitors are going to be doing. So here's Eric Blix coming out, one of the first to come into the pit lane in the race, but also the first from that lead pack, which is the all-important one. Let's see how this is going to work out. But of course, you still need to wait just a little bit. There's Dan Holmer, actually, that coming down the back straight away, gaining a lot of time on that top lot. I think it is trying to work his way through turn 3 and 4, but Blix certainly trying to get up to speed and use these new tyres compared to those in the pit stop right now.
Here's the big thing though. Holmer right now may have picked up a lot of time because of the undercut, but he's going to pay for it if it stays green at about 10-15 laps time. He's offset by about 5-6 laps. But here they go for the race up, for the net race lead. Eraldson's trying to block.
He certainly is in towards 3 and 4. Of course, he's still speeding up. Blix is coming in with all the momentum, so it's actually going to be a pass into 1 and 2 that potentially we are looking at. This is going to be the net race lead. Of course, there's always some caution and maybe a spin. Definitely some duster coming up as we come through turns 3 and 4. Loads of cars checking up here as potentially there has been a bit of an incident.
How in the world was that not a caution? Lucas Holmerman had spun on the racetrack and was sideways on the circuit. I've never seen that not run a caution out before for a stopped car on the circuit.
Well, this is a very tricky situation for these effective race leaders. Look at all the drivers, they're struggling. This is the pace difference as well by staying out. Oh, there's a huge wreck there on the front straightaway. Is that the 24 Eraldson involved? I think it was, from the lead of the race effectively. He's been taken out down. The Holmer is involved, the 111 is involved as well, and that is the number 4. Quite a few cars in there, as I'm sure this has got to go caution with the massive crash down the front straight.
No caution? What?
That is an interesting one. Looks like we're going to stay green, but that was certainly a huge wreck, and that is a big thing. The caution finally comes out here on lap 36 of 62. Brewstrom still in the lead with Havadarsson. They have not stopped. So, of course, they will have to wait for pit lane to open before they come in. But this certainly is going to change the look of the race quite a bit.
Especially since Eraldson got absolutely destroyed trying to go on the outside of the 2 lap cars. And this is absolutely flipping the field upside down. Everybody who didn't pit here now with the lead lap. This pins a lot of the contenders a lap down and having to take the wave here, Cameron. It puts them on old tires, potentially, unless there's a quick yellow. This completely changes the front runners.
Yes, certainly does. And we know Brewstrom here for Bright Esports. He's often one to try and play the strategy game. And it didn't work out for him. I think it was at Kansas, second round of the season. Stayed out on some older tyres. Jesper Eriksson pitting with a caution. And luckily for Jesper, it stayed green to the end. And he used his new tyres to come and overtake Linus with just a couple of laps to go. But how is it going to work out this time around? Remember, this is the first race of the evening. This is round 5, the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, the Roll the Dice by Trashcar Custom. We have a second race coming your way, which will be the grid for that will be the top 20 result here reversed. So still plenty of action to come this evening as we have 25 to go in this one, as I'm sure we're going to see. There's the 24 trying to come around. I'm sure we're going to see Brewstrom and a lot of the other drivers jump down into pit road.
And there are a lot of contenders that now aren't even in position to get the top 20 here. We're talking about drivers like Eracingligan, low motor, Anton Ullman, who's coming off a interesting time in World Sports Car Competition on Tuesday, and several more that have already got themselves spots where there'll be multiple laps down here. This is a big boom for Brostrom, though. This is a good boom for the 81 machine. Lumberg, Bohlin especially, who had lost so much track position because of the initial bad start. All those drivers now have an opportunity to battle for this race win, but drivers like Bohlin and company, Bohlin at least got the lucky dog, but drivers like Solander, Gunnarsson, Ullman, and several more, they're going to have a very tough time the rest of this day because of what happened here, even when you factor in the invert. Those drivers are going to be pushing, obviously, for the first race points. That puts them in the mid-pack for the second race in turn.
Well, yeah, this is going to be a big change of the race. But it looks like Brewstrom from Hafler-Darson as we come out of pit road. Of course, the drivers will have some fresh tyres towards the end, and they, because they went so long before that caution, they should be fairly okay with tyres to the end here. Shouldn't be any dramas for them. But of course, we saw the likes of Dan Homer. He pit about 12 odd laps ago now. I'm sure he's going to be coming. Yes, he is back into pit road because he's involved in that one. But some of those drivers then, they might be coming back in anyway when pit lane opens for them. Just because getting onto those fresh tyres, it seems that's going to be a big one. But certainly a huge moment there for Brewstrom. Currently sitting obviously very high up in the championship, third place. And he's fairly close. He's 25 points off Jesper Eriksson in second, but of course doesn't have a win to his name. And getting a win would be very good for securing his place into the playoffs later this year.
And keep in mind, Brostrom has speed. He's one of the drivers that runs regularly in official competition, especially in NIS races. Usually it's among the drivers when there's no major trouble, see him towards the front. He brought his organization to several special events through series like Major Series, been able to win in those types of races with Bright Esports. There's a lot of good talent, and Brostrom's amongst those leading talent. And by the way, one-time broadcaster when you think about it when it comes to RaceSpot. Co-commentated a few races with them.
Yeah, he did one of the sister series as such for the bonus Svenska Eracingligan, the Formula series that we'll have next weekend. Yeah, he commentated with me a couple of weeks ago on that one back at Barber Motorsports Club. Definitely a very influential person in this sort of racing, both on RaceSpot but also this community as well. Awesome community at the Svenska Eracingligan. A great group of drivers over the course of the season. We're into season 6 now as well of this oval series, as it's looking to continue on with that. Here is Eric Blixt, P12 after all of that. As you say, managed to get back onto the lead lap and still puts himself in a half decent position to get some some solid points here in this race so far. Of course, Solander is behind, but he's going to be struggling with that one lap down. So definitely a bit of an interesting one with how this next 20 odd laps is going to go. Caution certainly having big effects to how this race is going to continue on. But the fact is that we have the 50 points as ever for the race win. We have that both for both of the races. So when we get to the second race later on, 50 points will go to a winner again. It's not like it's half points or anything like that. It's 2 individual races, and that's why a double header like this is so important.
Being able to be consistent throughout a race like this is ever more important in terms of lap times, obviously. But now those with the wave around are going to be amongst those that are going to be hoping for something to happen, because they can pick off some drivers, yes, if there's some trouble, but they're going to be sitting ducks the rest of the way if it stays green. The drivers up at the front, obviously the thought is, especially with drivers like Brostrom, stay green, because if it stays green, it leads to less competition, I'll be honest, in terms of the fresher tires that they'll have to be able to deal with towards the end of this race.
Yeah, absolutely, that is right. Of course, loads of drivers in that midfield have caught up onto this lead lap as it stands, but they've got older tyres and they're not going to be too happy with this one going to the end of the race. We've got 21 laps to go when we get to the line to finish this first race here at Las Vegas for the Roll the Dice by Trashcar Customs double header. Let's see how it goes. We go back to green flag racing after the first caution of the night. Linus Brusen gets them underway. Hafedarsenet is in that second place. Homegrown, Lundberg, also Hagman, they all jump up from that mid pack after this caution. It's really pushed them towards the front, but Brusen with a nice start.
Hold off the Hornet's Nest, though. Listen, have the opportunity to be able to build up draft, though. Is going to be able to close up down these straightaways. The trouble is going to be once they roll through these corners, that's where he's going to have to be very careful in terms of how he is on the throttle here because he's in that dirty air.
It certainly is, and this I think is going to be the bigger point of the race. How much do you push now, or how much you'll try and save your tyres just a little bit? The thing else, Hardman just getting a little bit close coming through turn 2, as we're still not quite into a single file formation. Driver trying to work their way up, uses opportunity when everyone is so close together, going almost 3 wide there, coming through turns 3 and 4, and it looks like still on the outside there, that is working out pretty well for Hagman. In that 12 machine, of course, you've got Bohlin in behind there in that white and pink machine trying to push him up, but it looks like it's going to be Lundberg on that inside line, just coming up to cover them off.
You have to be able to paint the scene more so when it comes to running that middle line, and that was a little bit too higher up from that set scene. That push up the 12 up from the bumps. Turn, Lundberg seemed to be a little bit more careful and comfortable in this early stage of this run at least. Now, he can get the chance here to close up this pack. If they stay single file, that already gained them about 2-3 car lengths down the straightaway because they stayed single file.
Yeah, you got to be careful when you do your battles in this sort of racing, but you never know when cautions can come out as well. So it's a bit difficult to judge how hard you want to push at this point in the race. But it looks like they're still going to be going side by side in turn 3 and 4 once again. Lundberg on the outside line there in that yellow machine. We've got Hagman on the inside there in the Force Esports machine. He's got a teammate just up ahead of him, giving him the draft down that front straightaway. But Lundberg has that momentum as he tries to go around the outside of turn 1 and 2 once again, but can the 12 come up just to cover him off? No, he can't, and they continue to go side by side for a couple of laps.
Now here's the big thing though, teamwork can be something you see in these stock cars. Can be a controversial topic because, well, it's a stock car. And keep in mind, the 77 is a teammate to the 12, and you see it down the straightaway, the backstretch especially, you're able to potentially pick up some draft off your teammate. And sometimes you'll see your teammate bobble down the backstretch, even when it's disadvantageous to them, to just help that teammate keep side by side. That time it didn't work too well.
Someone was up in the wall, right in the background of the shot as well, coming off turn 2. Things on the superior cars really having a bit of a brush there. So some concrete dust coming up as we come across the line onto lap 47. Brustrom still leads from Hafedarsenet, but this battle for this third place is looking very nice. Helmbro now is having to be under attack from Lundberg, who goes all the way around the outside. Lundberg's worked his way up past Hagman effectively, but needs to try and keep this mid to high line working to around the outside of the pair of them. He has done it in towards turn 3. Should be able to come down and cover that one off. No, he likes that high line, doesn't he? Stays up there.
He's not afraid to burn up these tires. He knows there's only about 15 or so laps to go this time by. So Lundberg not afraid to just push that envelope. Hope he can play defense later on. It's not going to be an easy game, though, because that outside line and having to use that extra bit of throttle is starting to slide away for second.
And look who's coming there as well, the 95, Eric Blixt, of course, chasing the lead up towards the front before that first caution. He's coming up the inside there, trying to get onto the podium as he's got, sort of 14 laps left of this race. He should have enough time as well, and some very decent tyres after that, after pitting, of course, the last car pretty much this time around. Up the inside, it is going to be of Helmbros. Helmbros starting to drop back a little bit. Lundberg and Hagman, they pulled away from him by a couple of car lengths. This 95 still on that inside line, trying to just cover off, not enough space there, and trying to get a bit of draft now from his teammate Hafedarsenet on that inside line as well in towards turn 3. This race is a bit of an up and down for the championship leader.
Yeah, but same time, that bottom line still going to be a good defensive measure. Lundberg's top groove in that said top groove's line, I think I've started to really fall off here. Back to the pack racing form we see at some points in Coca tracks like this. Expect the fall to kick in though, because they're starting to show some signs of it. About a 10th or so, they're already 10-12 laps on the tires.
Everyone's starting to bunch up towards the front, are they? It did spread out just a little bit, maybe 5-6 laps ago, but it's now starting to all come back together as Blix there swaps to that high line. He's trying to follow Lundberg through, get the run on the 12, down the front straightaway in towards turn number 1. Has plenty of momentum to get him, but he should be staying in that mid-high line as well. As is that a lap car there on the inside? Yeah, I think it is, just trying to get out of the way of all the drivers coming through. The whole train of this lead pack cars going through him down that back straightaway. As the two Force drivers still continue to be side by side, but they've now dropped down to 6th and 7th.
Yeah, but in turn, though, that opened up a little bit of a door for not only Dodson to be able to breathe a bit, but also a chance for him to group up to the back bumper. Right now, Broström needs to be able to play defense, and Dodson seems to be sending things with a cross. Same to be said for Blix. Do you see that run off the exit? 18's losing back tires.
Yeah, certainly is. Can't keep it down there on the exit of turn 2. In towards turn 3, they'll have Dawson there, maybe up the inside of Broström, trying to battle side by side. Should have the run down the front straightaway as well. We've seen them use pretty much all of the apron. Not this time around, though. Continues to stay on the racetrack, but the 81 is going to be going up the inside there. Broström, is he going to hold it around the outside though? No, just has to back out of that one just a little bit. Not quite enough space, I don't think. Actually does keep it there on the outside there. Doesn't let the 81 come up completely to cover him off, as Blix is coming for third place in the background. Yes, he is. What a recovery drive that is from the caution earlier.
Under 10 laps to go already in this one. It's go time. You only have about 5 minutes in theory to work with. So it's a caution. We come down to the time limit. Lex needs to find a way to close up and fast here, because his door to keep up with his teammate is just about shut. Dodson getting a little bit squiggly, trying to get the bump up and the flare up. Broström scraping the wall down nearly, trying to keep it on top.
Certainly is. Lovely to see the different lines really working and opening up. Although they both come into each other, door banging as we come through turn 4. After coming up a little bit, Broström coming down. They do not want to give each other an inch as we come towards the end of this first race at Las Vegas. And what an exciting race it is. Certainly to be proving a very much of a driver's race so far, of how you have to manage the tyres, how you have to manage different racing lines over the course of the race. And Lundberg is dropping further back, isn't he? He's now into top 5s. Uvinen out of nowhere, and the 84 machine is jumping up into the top 4.
Yeah, but right now they need to work quick if they want a shot here. The more they fight, though, the more that possibly closes the gap up. Now it's trying to take the shortest around, because Dodson starting to struggle a little bit to be able to complete the pass. Just trying to keep it off the side of the 71.
There's such close racing between the two. They've been side by side for so long. We've also got Blix and Uvinen side by side in the background as well. Broström manages just about to get ahead and hold on to that first place for now. But here is the 84 machine up the inside of the 95, as this is working out really well for a few of these drivers with how the timing of the caution came and with when their pit stop mattered. Has certainly changed the course of the race. That 57 of 62, 5 to go in this race. Havdodson goes back towards the front, as Blix is still trying to hold that outside line.
Coming up to that 5 to go specifically right here. There is traffic up in the way. Expecting a big factor. Here's the big thing, though. I think it's the quickest car on the track. The problem is, Blix is holding him up. He needed to pass like he just did right there to have a true shot. I don't know if there's enough time now because of how long they spent side by side.
Yeah, they might not be able to get inside the top 2, but at least confirming a podium would be a nice result for them. As here is Bohlin as well. We've seen some of these riders lower down in the championship, but they're having a great run here at Las Vegas, just showing that they can just do it for themselves as well. And look at these top 2, they're starting to pull away, but specifically the 81, he's starting to pull away. He's got about 3-4 car lengths on the 71s. They come across the line. Such close racing here, but is this starting to be a bit of a jump for the 81 at the front?
I think right now with the clean air, it's now Broström needing caution to be able to fight back here. Same we said for the rest of the group here. While in a good recovery, though, with the time of the caution flag, not getting very easy, though, with the traffic. That Toyota Camry trying to stick the top. That's Bradberg, who's nearly up into the wall.
The driver's really starting to push the limits. So you come across the line once again. All we got a spinner there is at the 4 machine on the front straight away. Was obviously a few laps down the struggle. 5 laps down, 28th position. But it looks like we continue going. Lap 60 of 62. 2 to go at the line. Looks like Haflidsson is looking really good for the win so far. But all these positions in behind are still up for grabs. Blix is going back a little bit. Lundberg is coming back. Maybe cool down his tyres. Just working them out to come back in this second half of the second stint in the race. Of course, caution halfway through it. Blix on that outside line, still just trying to hold on.
And that's the amazing thing to me in these final couple laps. Blix, even though he's got some of the oldest tires in the field right now, when you think about it, he's just been able to make it stick. Not been enough to be able to pounce for the lead, obviously, but it's been enough to at least recover most of the points he lost. Still only 1 lap to go, though. If we take the white flag, it's the race simply to the checker.
It's working out really well for him, to be honest. Also, with Jesper Eriksson not having the race day that he would have wanted as we come onto the final lap. 3 wide across the stripe there to battle for that P5 as we're here on the final lap of the Roll the Dice by Trashcar Custom. First race here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 1 more to go after this. Top 20 will be reversed, but of course 50 points still on offer in just this last 0.75 miles, last half a lap coming your way. Haflidsson is looking good for the race win, but his positions in behind her though. Off the final turn, it is going to be the 81 machine taking victory here at Las Vegas. Brostrom in second place. Uvinen will get that final place on the podium by just a few hundredths of a second. Bohlin in 4th. Hagman, is he going to get 5th place? Looks like Blix maybe just got him to the line. No, he doesn't. Goes back into 5th place. What a finish there for those guys inside that top 5. But Brostrom is going to be a little bit disappointed, I think, to lose out with that one. But what a race by the 81.
And it built up momentum throughout this entire week, when you think about it, because on Tuesday there was World Sports Car. He was actually one of the top drivers in his respective class if you kept an eye on RaceSpot's coverage from the Monza circuit. But on the oval side, he is very solid, and wow, the sim doesn't even let him do the burnout.
That's a bit of a shame. Let's get the results for that race. After 62 laps of racing, Jonas Gunnarsson getting the fastest lap, but it was Michael Haflidsson in the 81 machine taking victory from Linus Brostrom and Uvinen inside your podium. Wallen, Hagman and Blix inside your top 6, with Lundberg, Lindorf, Tyr and Gunnarsson rounding out your top 10 as we had an awesome finish here. Zakrasson is in 11th place with Schott and Solo inside your top 13. Helmbro, Johansson, Fredriksson and Saland inside your top 17. Holmgren, Broberg and Lundell will be your top 20 that get reversed for the second race, which will be coming up in just a few minutes time. A slightly longer race as well, 83 laps. Brostrom, the other Brostrom father of the 71, in 21st place with Jonas Fors in 22nd. Karlen Scherp and Skeglerson inside your top 25. Anton Ullman, who dropped down unfortunately after that caution. Bratberg as well, your first of your drivers who are many laps down, so the rest of the drivers roll their way through. Aronson inside your top 30, unfortunately leading the race for so long, but just losing out with that caution getting involved with Dan Holmer as well, rounding out your 31 drivers here for the first race of this evening. The Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan is certainly going to be a lot of fun as we get to the second race, but we'll be back in a few minutes to bring you through the coverage of the 83 lap race here at Las Vegas.
Behöver du en bil? Moby hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Moby hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
And welcome back to Las Vegas Motor Speedway here. We've just had the 5th round of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan here for the Roll the Dice by Trashcar Custom. And of course, it was won by the 81 machine of Michael Hafliderson, who took victory very narrowly by Linus Brustrom. And Michael joins us for some quick questions before we get to the second race of the day. And Michael, just tell us about the final sort of 10 laps there. You had a massive fight with Linus, but you seemed to just save a little bit to push in those last 5 laps.
I'm not clue why. I don't know if I pushed Linus too hard. Maybe the outside destroys the tires a little bit more, hits them up. But my tires were fine, like towards the finish line. I had a little bit of a wiggle on the last lap, but I think I could keep Linus on the outside and push his tires a bit more, and then just capitalize once he got loose out of a corner. So nice to finally get a victory. Basically securing myself for the playoff, which is nice, even though I am top 4 in the standings.
Yeah, absolutely. Big win for you in that regard. And how, just to get to the second race, how are you finding the racing here with all the different lines? And it looks like we can go green flag for quite a while.
Well, I have to say that now I want to race. I like Vegas, but usually I'm not that good on Vegas. I struggle with keeping my tires in a working window, so to say. I usually feel like after about 20 laps I fall off, but for some reason today it just seemed to work.
Yeah, good stuff. And obviously we're getting onto the grid for the second race, so good luck and enjoy this one.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so some nice quick words there from Michael as we get to the grid for this second race. Of course, as we mentioned, it was top 20 reversed. And bear in mind, there was only 31 drivers in that race. That's 2/3 of the field. So this is going to be a big, big change. Michael, of course, starting down in 20th place. Here is your grid. We'll get the top 20 for you. Lundell and Brogo will be on the front row. Holmgren and Salander inside your top 4. Fredriksson and Johansson inside your top 6. Some drivers that we haven't necessarily spoken about too much up there towards the front, which is very good to see what these reverse grids bring for this style of racing. Helmbro and Solo inside your top 8 with Schott, Zachrisson, Gunnarsson and Kenneth Tier inside your top 12. And these drivers will now be fighting for some top points. Lindhoff, Lundberg, Blixt, Hagman, Wallin and Uvenen inside your top 18. And then your final 2 drivers, of course, will be Brostrom and Hafliderson. We'll let the rest of the drivers work their way through the grid. But the big name to mention that I'm just seeing is Jesper Eriksson there in 32nd. He didn't actually, I don't think he took part in that first race, which is a very interesting one. Big points lost from him as he comes back to this second race. But Justin, as we get on to the pace lap, what's your thoughts as we have an extra 21 laps in this race?
Well, it's still one stopper, but it also takes to where you need to go a full run, basically. You need to be able to go about 40 plus laps. Make sure you at least get to lap 35 to get the stage points. But in regards to the race in of itself, I think we may see a wild start to this one because some of the drivers who are at the edge of the top 20 were starting to really struggle towards the end of the run, and now they get to be the leaders. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. It's certainly a big opportunity for these drivers to get some good points, but as we saw in the previous race, if a caution comes out at the right or wrong time for you. You can either drop all the way to the back or jump all the way to the front. It's a very interesting style of racing. Of course, you just always got to be pushing towards the front. You can't really rest on your laurels too much, but Las Vegas is giving us a really, really good showing so far. A crazy 1.5 mile circuit here, but we're now on to round 6 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, the Roll the Dice by Trashcar Custom, second race of the night, the first of our double headers this season. It looks like we're getting to green flag racing. Connie Lundo on the pole position as we come across the line to go green flag racing for the second time here tonight.
Oh, here we go already. Salander 3 wide, nearly spun it up the track. And this is what I was expecting. Drivers who started towards the back end of the top 20 here with the invert want to go and want to go now. 3 wide, 4 wide, 17 wide. Let's go.
Hopefully we don't see that 17 wide, but I'm sure the drivers will try it. Awesome stuff so far in the first lap of this second race of the evening. 83 laps coming your way. Stage break at 35 laps as well, where another 10 important playoff points will be given as Holmgren is going for the lead already. Up the inside there, Lundo is running that tyre line. He's going to be dropping down. Fredriksson is trying to follow through in the 1-12 machine as well. Saland as well. He dropped off a lot in that first race, but now back inside the top 4.
Expecting quickly Lundo to get shuffled back here. Oh man, Salander though is way too hard on how aggressive he is right now. He knew he spun a few cars. Blix and company able to single file it out, but up here with the green machine is Salander. He is trying to full throttle it on the exit. He nearly turned the 77.
Oh, yeah, getting so close between these drivers. Oh, someone's in the wall. One of the Ford's drivers there, scraping the wall on the exit of turn 2, just showing how much they're pushing already. That might have been Ford's himself for his own team, as definitely don't want to be spinning it this early in the race. Salander gets up inside the top 3 so far. Helmbro is in that top 5 as Lundo is starting to go backwards. Helmbro should be able to get him actually up the inside here in towards turn number 1 as your pole position driver is starting to drop back, going the very high line. 3 wide there. That is going to be very tight as we get onto the exit turn 2, but Solo backs out of it.
Yeah, very, very dicey up the middle. Lundo, you can tell, is trying to play hard defense here, but again, that's the problem. When you aren't comfortable with the track position, it's hard to keep that confidence down to be able to keep the speed. Now, Salander, I think, has some speed here because Salander is also somebody that runs some official races. He runs more toward the roadside, but he is also pretty consistent. Last run, mind you, he was amongst those inside the top 10 before the pit stop window, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's able to maintain some of this track position with the invert.
Yeah, definitely some of these drivers, especially Gunnarsson there in 7th place. He's, of course, the number 1 machine reigning champ. He definitely knows how to get it done from the front, and pretty much all of those Alcantech cars as well. Solo, he was running very well in that first race back at Daytona as well, so they all know what they're going to be doing. And, of course, multiple, top 5 podium and race winners. Still, we have a very strong field here, so the invert doesn't change too much for some drivers. As all talking about, that was that Solo maybe just getting into the wall on the exit of turn 2, pushing it just a little bit too hard, and maybe having a driver right up his backside, which I think he does there with that red car in Broberg.
Well, his teammates do call him the wall whisperer for nothing, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's not always the best thing to do so because, it's just slower for one, but also you get a bit of damage on the car. Not necessarily what you want, especially in a longer race like we have here in the 83 second race of the night. But remember, this is the 6th round of the season already. It's a separate race, full points given, the full 50 points for the winner. It's a very important night with so many points being on offer, and of course the extra 20 points in total for the playoff points as well, and the bonus points. That is going to be very, very important when we get towards the end of this season. Seems the top 4 holding it in single file for now, though. Actually, to the outside, Solo goes once again. Is he going to hit the wall this time on the exit of turn 2? Round the outside of Salander. No, he keeps it, but actually Broberg there in that red machine, he gets into the wall.
I don't think he really touched it, you're talking about, but keep in mind, Danny Solo trying to use that banking more so as a ramp, trying to dive in the corner, try and get a better launch off corner exit. Now, that can only work for so long when it comes to a track like Las Vegas, yes, but he's amongst those, though, who are not afraid to get quick on the gas after a quick lift, get to the bottom, angle it down, get the corner exit, ramp it down, get alongside. That nearly got him a chance for second with that move.
Certainly did. They're starting to close up. Holmgren still leading the way so far, but he's got his teammate Fredriksson right up behind it, trying to get a run off the exit turn 4 into the wall. Solo goes once again. He's trying to get this second place. He's put it all on the line already inside the first 10 laps of this race. On to lap 10 now specifically, and he's going to be trying this midline once again all the way round the outside. Can he keep it down just enough to get the run, get the momentum onto the back straight? I think he should do, but he's going to have to work hard in 3 and 4 too.
Yeah, I'm looking at how he's handling the throttle. He's lifting maybe for a split second, getting back full throttle, if not 3/4 throttle. And that's why he's getting so much into the wall, is he's pushing a lot harder than some of the others would be in this early stage here. That's going to hurt him long term, though. We've seen that already with a few drivers in the first race. He's going to have to be playing careful. He does have a teammate to let him in line if that top line starts to fade, but I think he's got a shot at least for the lead.
He certainly does. Got the momentum coming round the outside into 3 and 4. He's been making this work for about 5 laps, trying to keep that momentum going. But is he burning up the tyres? We'll have to find out in another 5-10 laps time when we start seeing that drop off around the outside. It's going to be Holmgren still holding it down, though, for this lead, as he has after the first lap already of this race. Solando, a bit of a wobble there for Fredriksson. Manages to keep it in line, though. He's got Gunnarsson to try and push him to get back up to speed as well. As a caution does come out, though, not for this, but something must have happened in behind.
Yeah, around the mid-pack, just noticed as things started to bundle up around the start and finish line, Tony Overin tried to bump draft somebody, Connie Lundo, I think, in the middle of the tri-oval. Now, here's the thing. You do not push in the corner on a super speedway. You definitely don't push on a 1.5-mile cookie cutter. Because that's the easy way to destroy some race cars, is getting somebody loose by trying to bump draft them in what's essentially a fifth corner.
Yeah, it's not a straight by any means. The cars are turning around, and I wonder, is anyone going to go into the pit road? We'll have to find out, because it is stage at 35. So that's another 22 laps from here. It might be worth it, if we go green after this caution. Of course, take a few laps, but still might be a 20-lap green run. Could be working out for some of these drivers. Certainly an interesting one. With how the strategy is going to work out so far over the course of this race. Solanda does come down. His teammate Solo follows him as well, as we're going to say a goodbye to Justin. Unfortunately, does have to run, but Justin, just give us your final thoughts.
Well, the thought, first of all, is Lucas Holmgren has taken a very bold call, being the only person in the entire field inside the top 20 to not pit here. But second thought is, so far, it's quintessential Las Vegas. Packs in the first groupings. Then you have the tire wear start to break things up. Difficulty under the pit lane could break things up in terms of some of the cautions. But in turn, I think some of it comes down to some of the main stakes of how you race this racetrack coming into play, especially the mid of the track in 1 and 2, the bottom in 3 and 4 seem to be prevalent when it comes to this next-gen car today.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. And with that, we bring in Dane Baird for the remainder of the broadcast. Dane, of course, doing the production behind the scenes as well. So it's myself, Cam Roger, and Dane Baird to the end of this Roll the Dice by Trashcar custom RaceSpotTV broadcast here for round 6 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. We're under caution here for the second race of the evening. Holmgren, Lundberg, Arvidsson stay out. Fredriksson and co behind have all stopped. We have a stage coming up at lap 35, but are the old tyres going to hold on? Dana, I don't really think so. I think that was a bad choice to stay out.
Yeah, it's always difficult being the leader of a pack, because you know that if you make the wrong choice, everybody else behind you is going to make the right one, and they're going to be making their way through. So for Holmgren, at least, absolutely should have gone in, and with everyone else behind going in, that's a big problem. However, for some of the other guys, where they were a bit further back in the pack, maybe not such a bad idea. They've gained a lot of track position now, which they can maybe hold on to before the stage. So we'll see what happens with that. But for Holmgren, he's now got Fredriksson about 3 cars behind with fresh tyres right around the tyre cutoff point. After a couple of laps, they're going to be rocket ships compared to Holmgren. You have to expect that, especially after what we saw in the first race about half an hour ago.
I guess maybe they're going to hold on to the potential of more cautions as well. That might help them at some point a bit later on, but certainly going to be a very difficult one as we're not even halfway into this first stage. Maybe they are thinking of the points later on in the, into the race, but I don't know if that one is going to work out because basically everyone in behind went into the pit lane from 4th place Fredriksson downwards. They all dropped in, and Fredriksson actually he jumped up a little bit, jumped up a couple of places there, so I think that actually worked out pretty nicely with how the pit stops worked out under this caution so far. And some news that we have is 31st place Jesper Eriksson, of course, didn't seem to compete in that first race. He is back out. He had some issues at the start, 2 laps down, but he is in the race. And the important point for that is points go all the way down to 45th place. So even if he just finishes the race and gets that 32nd place, that's still extra points in the championship. So despite having some issues, maybe that is certainly something to think about.
I'm just riding on board now with our leader, Holmgren, as we start lap 16 here under caution. It sounds like he's clutching to try and save as much fuel as possible, and I think he's going to need it. He's going to need every advantage in the pit stops that he can get. So you just an interesting thing that maybe you can't see from the outside, but when you ride on board, you can really get a bit more of a feel for what's going on inside the cars. And we'll take a look at the field lining up now side by side as we will be getting underway at the start of lap 17.
Yeah, we certainly will. We'll be going back to green flag racing, as we've seen a lot of the drivers coming back towards the front that we would expect. We had a top 20 invert from the first race, but we're still seeing the top drivers all up towards the front. Of course, Lundberg finishing strong in that second race. Aroldsson unfortunately got taken out in the caution in the first race, but was leading for a long time. Of course, Solar, Salander, Blix, Gunnarsson, all of the Alcantech cars are right up there. They'll be working together. Of course, Haflidsson, your race winner, just outside your top 10 on this restart. Brewstrom not too far behind, so they're really working their way forward, as of course we're getting about an 18 lap dash to the end of this stage, lap 35, but we will remain green flag racing at the stage. But the extra 10 playoff points is the all-important number that the drivers will be fighting for, as the roll the dice by Trashcar Custom is going to get underway once more. We go back to green flag racing here for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, and it looks like a fairly solid start for all of the drivers. But Aroldsson is already going to that inside line as the leader tries to go in that mid line, trying to find a bit of a different speed onto this back straightaway.
Now back onto the back straight. Looks like we might have a bit of a run here for the lead. Aroldsson getting some good run off of the banking, and now looking to try and make it side by side up the inside and takes the lead as they're almost 3 wide with on the outside. Solo actually going backwards.
Well, he certainly is. We've seen him in the wall a few times. Wonder if his car's just got a little bit of damage.
Oh, yeah.
He's certainly been in there as the 24 is taking the lead very nicely, but maybe not, because as you say, Dane, we go back to caution. There must have been a spin in that mid-pack. Cautions, precautions, and this is exactly what Holmgren needs, staying out on those old tyres. And oh no, is that Brewstrom in the 71? I think it is. And that is a big shame for him. And Jesper Eriksson then, the 37, maybe also involved a few drivers.
Yeah, that does not look ideal. You can see the pace truck out onto the circuit. A good few drivers involved in this one, it looks like. And unfortunately, yeah, you got the 71 of Brewstrom as well. He was looking very racy up at the front of the last race with that reverse grid. Of course, put right back in the middle of things for the start of this one, and has been involved in something on that opening lap. So, as you said, cautions breed cautions, and we go for our third of the evening, second of this 6th round of the championship. And now it will be interesting because you've got a lot of drivers behind you who've just pitted for tyres. Was this maybe the gamble that we saw from Holmgren as to, is he now going to pit for tyres and get a good advantage on the rest of the field? He'll go right towards the back, but he may have a much better run towards the end of the stage now.
Yeah, potentially, but we only really had that couple of laps there on the newer tyres, so I don't know if they're going to be worn enough for it to make the difference, but maybe something to think about. But I think Holmgren is just playing the long run. He's going to hope there's a few cautions, get closer and closer to that lap 35, and at least try and stay rather high up, because of course, at some point we'll be getting another pit stop or two to the end of the race. Maybe not in terms of fuel, but when cautions come out in terms of tyres, definitely need to be thinking of that. We've got 5 sets of tyres, so plenty of tyres that you can use when these cautions come out. Certainly something to think about, as it seems like it is a bit of a tyre race. Loads of drivers actually in the pit lane. I'm sure they're probably all the ones involved, so Bohlin must have been involved as well. A few other drivers as they continue to continue their race on. Drivers getting a lap back. Was that Ericsson getting a lap back? That will be very important for him, the championship leader, for potentially getting even more points this evening.
It is indeed. And it will rejoin the back of the field. Just having a look now, starting lap 20 for Ericsson, which means back onto the lead lap and overtaking the drivers that were involved in some incidents perhaps, and also drivers that went into the pit lane. So, gained quite a few positions there now.
Yeah, certainly has, of course. Their championship leader. He's not anymore. He went down to second place. Blix got him in the previous race, but still, he's won 2 races so far this season, and also in the road course series that we have as well, which runs in the in-between week. So next week, we will, of course, be back for the Formula Series, as that is getting hotting up against the second half of the championship. We go to Okayama in 1 week's time there. He's doing very well in that championship too, so he's just loving life in the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. Is he actually coming back into the pit lane though? Yes, he is. So he's going to get fresh tyres, topped up with fuel, because he's at the back of the train anyway.
Yeah, we'll grab some tyres as the rest of the field. I'm just taking a look here. Are they still single file? Yes, they are. So we still have at least another 2 laps under the pace truck conditions. And we'll be getting back going again on lap 23, you'd expect. So they're going to have a 12 lap dash to the end of this first stage of the race, and it's going to be interesting. That's not enough time for the tyres to really get to a point where you can't drive the car as quick anymore. So the drop off isn't going to be as big. It will be even less for the drivers that have just made pit stops and rejoined at the back of the train, so watch out for some of them as well, because they may well be making some moves up towards the front. But the guys at the front, all on similar tyres. It's just up to Holmgren now if he's going to hang on to that second place, and how far back is he going to drop, because his tyres, they're much older than everybody else.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I think it might actually kind of work out, because the longer we go, obviously the less laps he's going to be out there on the older tyres, so he might have half a chance. Of course, Ericsson and Lundberg, I think it were, with the other cars in a similar situation. So definitely, yeah, it's going to be opening up for some of these drivers. Definitely, as we get to the, of course, get to the restart of this race, the drivers starting to get into their side-by-side. There's race information. So 2 races. We've already had the 62-lap race. We're coming out into the 83-lap race, round 6 of the season, and race 2 stage is lap 35. So that is what we're looking out for. Of course, we have 5 tyre sets, 80% fuel capacity. And we do have the restart zone in effect. We go side by side on to the back straight away. We've got Ericsson on the inside and Lucas Holmgren on the outside. They'll be your front row coming back to Green Flag Racing. But look at all the drivers lining up in behind. It's going to be a dash. We saw Lundberg making use of that high line, actually. It does wear the tyres a little bit more, but in a dash to the end of the stage, I don't think the driver's going to be sort of caring about that too much, because they're going to get to the stage and probably already be thinking of pitting not too long after that one, maybe another 5-10 laps or so after that one. They'll be starting to think about coming in. Of course, cautions, precautions. That what we just had in the last 10 laps. We've had 2 cautions come out here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's been a thrilling evening of racing so far, and I'm sure that is going to continue. Is this going to be green flag to the end of the stage, or is there going to be more cautions come out? The drivers work their way around the final corner in towards the restart zone, as the number 24 will get us back to green flag racing here for the roll the dice by a Trashcar customer. What a start that was. Got a huge jump on Lundberg right in behind him. And of course, Holmgren on that outside line, especially on those older tyres. We need to get down and cover off these drivers on newer tyres behind.
As they come out of turns 1 and 2 for the first time, it's a big lead for Ericsson, but Holmgren, he is getting swamped out there. Drivers all over the place, trying to get up into that second position now. 3 wide even for third.
Lundberg there in the middle of a 3 wide. He was coming up high, but I think he just about managed to avoid any sort of contact. So Gunnarsson and Blix now coming around his outside. So you definitely see a big difference here in the speed. But Holmgren's actually holding it quite nicely in that second place. Ayrton has a big run there up towards the front. As Solo being very aggressive with his teammate Slander following him in behind as we come down the back straightaway. Now Solo aggressively comes up there to block off the 112 machine of Fredriksson as well. So Slander drops to the inside to try and follow him through.
And that was ridiculous stuff. There were cars very loose as well. Despite having some fresh tyres on, they did have a problem making their way through cleanly on the first lap of this restart. But at least we get to the second lap before we go back into yellow conditions. And wow, the 112 of Fredriksson, very loose on the outside, very nearly ended up in the fence, but kept it straight and has kept himself in 5th place for now.
And some concrete dust coming up on the exit of turn 2 as the drivers start to push. Lap 25.35 is the stage. Extra 10 points for the winner, going down to 1 point for 10th place. So these points are going to be very important indeed, because that is the only thing that separates Ericsson and Blix at the top of the championship. They got the same points from the race, but Blix has 6 more bonus points, which is the all-important number, of course, as they share the same amount of points. Oh, huge slide then. There's a spin in the background as well. Is that going to be coming to caution? I would assume so here on lap 26. It seems like it goes to green flag now. He didn't actually completely spin out, so it's a bit of unlucky for him, but good for us that we continue going green flag.
We'll take a look a little bit more towards the front as Holmgren is starting to go backwards, and you can see there dropping down to 5th place now on that outside line. Looks like down the inside is going to go Blix up into 5th, Holmgren down to 6th. Oh, and it's going to be a big one. Fredriksson around. 2 drivers around.
Loads of cars involved in that one, especially the Alcantech cars. Loads of it involved. That the 42, another teammate further back has got involved. We go back to caution, 3rd one of this race so far, and the Alcantech bosses are not going to be happy with that one, with all their drivers getting involved, as this is certainly getting tense as we come very quickly to that lap 35. We should be able to get a few more laps green by the end there, but yeah, huge wreck off turn 2.
And now, if you're the leaders, here's a question for you. You get 5 sets of tyres. Are you using one pair now? You use a set of tyres now? If you don't use a set of tyres now and everyone behind you does, you will be in trouble at the end of the stage.
Yeah, the issue is, if you're in 3rd, 4th place and everyone comes in, of course you're going to follow them through. But the leader of the 24, does he want to give up that track position? Because then if everyone stays out, he has a lot of cars to pass. So it's all a game of, if everyone pit. Oh no, he stays out. The 24 keeps the track position. Oh, Solo, he takes the opportunity to stay out as well. He probably thought other people were coming in. Maybe he was trying to entice the 24, but no, they stay out. And there is Holmgren as well. So 24 there, and then Holmgren, which is the 021. They're on slightly older tyres, but Lundberg, the 3rd car on that strategy, he comes in, followed by a few other drivers as well. So it's definitely being a bit of a game. Loads of cars actually in the pit lane. We've got the 2 Brewstrims, got Dan Holmer, got Scherp, Lindoff, Hagman, Lundberg, Holmer, Gunnarsson, so many drivers, Lundell as well. And this is really pushing up a few drivers. Jesper Eriksson, from being 2 laps down, is now in 15th place as well, just showing you how quickly these things can change.
The staying out is Eracingligan. I don't know what I would have done, to be honest. I think I would have spent so long trying to decide what to do, I wouldn't have done anything. I think is what I would have done. I would have just stopped there and just stayed at pit entry and just kind of sat there and debated with myself for a little bit longer. But yeah, interesting that nobody chooses to go. I think Solo was, I don't know if he was trying to bait Eracingligan into heading down, because I know that's a tactic and it definitely works. But very interesting as we make our way closer and closer to the end of this stage. And we're going to have a couple of laps shootout here for these points. And the closer and closer we get, the more risks drivers are taking, and as we see, unfortunately, more cautions we get.
I think it makes sense to stay out because now you have the track position, but is this going to sacrifice the second half of the race? Because he's going to have to pit a lot sooner, and that's then going to make the next stint potentially a bit longer. Of course, you have 53 laps to go, so it's probably still going to be another couple of stints. So definitely, a pit stop still to go anyway. But you don't want to be on the older tyres then at the end of the race. Of course, this is assuming it goes green. If we get more cautions, then that opens up the door because everyone will just come back in. So I think he is just playing the track position game as it stands in that 24. And just hoping that it's going to stay out long enough for him to hold on, because even if he can just stay inside the top 10, that's still going to be extra points, which is going to be the, of course, the all-important bit to get the extra bonus points. Well, certainly a lot of drivers are going out for that. Currently in that 10th place is Fredriksson in that 112 machine, who had that big wobble just before that caution came out as well. So lots of drivers just holding on for these extra points.
And we see now that the race 1, it went very differently to how race 2 has been going so far. We had only one caution, and it was much more of a race towards the stage than what we've had now. It's been a couple of laps and then caution, couple of laps, another caution, 1 lap caution. So it's going to be interesting. I hope that we do get a race to the end of this first stage. I hope that we don't have another caution that brings us to the end of the stage and everyone is just crawling over the line like they are right now, and that ends the stage. That would be very disappointing.
Yeah, it certainly would, because the stage is, of course, is not a break in this series. We stay green flag, so that is definitely even a bigger possibility. So we are going back to side by side. So lap 32, it will be the first lap of the restart. So that's going to be 4 laps total until we get to the end of lap 35. Can we make it green for those 4 laps? Is the 24 going to have enough tyres to hold on? We're about to find out.
It is the question that's on everyone's mind. I think for the drivers as well, Araldson now has Solo on the outside, not Holmgren. So this restart, very different to the one he's just had to do a few minutes ago. Now he's got a car on the outside with lap tyres even, the same age. So it's going to be a much different strategy. He's not just run off into the distance. We'll see how he plays it out.
Well, what is going to happen here is we come to the end of the stage. We've got Araldson on the inside. He's got Holmgren directly behind him. They're on older tyres. We've got Solo and his teammate Hafliderson on the outside on fresher tyres. Of course, Blixt is in there as well. We've got Johansson in the 52 machine, third on the left lane. He's coming through the field too. So definitely a lot of things can happen in this 4-lap dash to the end of the stage here for the second race of the evening, round 6 of the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. What can the 24 do here? The roll the dice by Trashcar Custom. We go green flag racing, gets a pretty decent jump as the 52 has a pretty bad start there on that left-hand lane. That's going to open up the door very nicely for these Alcantech cars to try and work their way forward together, but the 24 continues his good run as he did on the previous restart.
That he does, and out in front, Solo gets passed by Holmgren. I don't think anybody saw that coming, but now Holmgren up to the high line, and Solo's going to get back through, and Hafliderson is also going to get through. I think Eric Blix as well, up in the 4th position now, potentially looking for it. And we are going to be yellow across the line for the stage caution, I believe, and well, that's very disappointing.
Certainly disappointing for us, but guess who it's good for? The number 24 machine, and also Holmgren. I think he's going to end up in 4th place, which overall as a gamble might have just about worked, although we'll have to go back and see exactly what position he was at the time. But you are right, we should be going across the line to lap 35, and that is going to mean the 24 should be taking those 10 points. We're going to lap 34. So we need to complete this one and then one more for the end of the caution. But of course, when do you want to come into the pit lane? We're inside 50 laps to go in this race. So way too long, way too long to pit and go to the end on the tyres realistically. So they want to go further in the race. But if you're already going to be struggling in the next 10 laps, certainly need to think about that one as well. But yeah, just one more lap to go behind the pace truck for the 24.
And Cam, we've had quite a few cautions in this race at this point. We are getting close to the point where this race ends up being a timed race.
That is a very good point, actually. What's this now? Is this the 4th or 5th? Oh, no, they're not coming in. They are. Interesting. No, I was going to say, what are you doing? What are you doing going in? We're coming on to lap 35, so you just need to stay out for another 1.5 miles, so you could be getting extra 10 points. God, that surprised me just a little bit. Broberg, though, does come into the pit lane. He does not want those extra couple of points that he was getting. He's thinking the longer game. Yeah,
the
he was
stage points go down to 10th. I think he was 10th. I think he was getting 1 point, so maybe he's just sacrificing that 1 point for a better spot later on.
Interesting. Very interesting strategies going on there, and just a bit of play. I'm not going to lie, I was so surprised seeing Ericsson there. At this point, you stayed out this long, pretty much about 20 laps, because we were going back to Green Flag Racing with 22 laps to go when we are after one of the restarts. So he stayed out all these laps to try and get this stage win. Don't let it go at the final stage, but he's just playing with us. Solo was trying to follow him through and bait him into that one as well. Good play between the guys, but they stay out. Lap 35, and we're going to come across the line, unfortunately for us, under the pace truck. But what it means is the strategy just opened up very interestingly for the second half of this race. Homer, Gunnarsson, Lindorf, Hagman, Broström, loads of these drivers, going back into the pit lane, trying to get the fresher tyres, trying to top up on fuel. So they should have fuel to the end now, those drivers who pit now, but assuming they went to a full tank. But it's the tyres is the big question. And as we come out of turn 4, it will be Ericsson getting the extra 10 points and the extra bonus points that are going to be very important for the playoff. Across the line, the stage winner is Alexander Ericsson in the 24 machine. Solo in second place, Haflidersen in second. Homer holds on the older tyres for fourth. Blix, Johansson, Erling, Fredriksson, Schutt, and Fors round out your top 10, all getting some extra bonus points here at Las Vegas.
I tell you one person who's had a fantastic time of things with all these cautions is this driver right here in the 81 in third position. And we do actually get the opportunity to look into the cockpit of Haflidersen, and we'll do that right now as we'll take a look here at the zoom cams, and we'll also lose car audio. We'll get that back. But yeah, he's started, I believe, right? He was in 13th position at the beginning of all of this caution nonsense. And he's just been consistently on the restarts, gaining places up until now where he finishes the stage in third place. I think that's a fantastic job.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, starting the event as well, or the race in P20 after the invert. So yeah, you're right. Worked his way forward very nicely. And the good thing for him, he's got a teammate ahead of him and 2 cars behind. Guess what? He's got another teammate. So they can definitely work together very nicely. Of course, we know as much as they work together as a team, they go for their own results, don't they? So definitely a very nice one there. As now we've gone through the stage. Here's drivers coming into the pit lane. No Solo thinking about it, trying to bait people in. They are going to stay out. And I'm very interested with how this tyre strategy is going to do, because as the laps go on, obviously Arvidsson's tyres, they just get older and older and older. So it's really going to be struggling with this one, I would say, in a few laps' time.
Yeah,
he's still out there from the start of the race. Homer in 2. Everyone else is on 23 lap old tyres. He's on 37. So very old tyres now.
Yeah, this is interesting. Nobody else has not pitted yet. You'd think that they would have wanted to pit under one of the cautions, but I guess after the first one, it was a no-brainer not to. You can't risk losing all of that track position right before the stage when you have it as is now. It turned out to be a fantastic risk to take, but now as they make their way towards this restart again, they're going to be happy to pit surely very soon, right? Their tyres have got to be nowhere. We've already seen Holmgren losing places left, right and centre on these restarts.
Yeah, we have done a lot of laps under caution, but we have done a lot of hard racing laps as well, so this is going to be a very big one. Coming up towards half race distance for the second race here, but we do only have 24 odd minutes left to go in this race, so it might be a timed race depending on the cautions to the end. If we go green flag racing, we should be okay, but we have had quite a few cautions already this evening. Lap 37, we turn into lap 38 of 83. We come back to green flag racing. The 24 will take us to the restart, but look at all the Alcon Tech cars in behind trying to get the run on him as we come back to green flag racing here for the Roll the Dice by Trashcar Customs at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and the tyre game continues. Cars getting loose there in turn 2. Thinking that was one of the superior cars just touching the wall on the exit. That's not what you want to see. Of course, you have a huge disparity in the tyres. Up towards the front, we've got cars in the sort of 20s and 30-lap-old tyres. But further back, 19th place downwards, everyone stops. So they're on 3-lap-old tyres. But of course, that's under cautions. They're on brand new tyres. We'll be seeing them surging up towards the front as they try and continue from this string of cautions that we've had.
That they will, and they're going 3 wide back there. They're using those tyres up immediately. They want the speed right now. They want to get up as far up the field as possible. They're also going side by side, 2 rows back, a little bit further up in the midfield, just outside the top 10. If you take a look at Shot here in 11th position, side by side, and just losing out on that 12th place for now, but that edge of the top 10 area is getting very feisty.
And look who that is in the middle of the screen. That is the red and black car of Jesper Eriksson, the 37, second place in the championship. Started last, went 2 laps down with some issues on the at the beginning of the race for Forza Esports. But look at the run he's having so far this race. Now in 11th place, looking to move his way up very sort of consistently over the course of the race. Might have a run here to get himself up inside Bohlin for the top 10. Bohlin, of course, starting on the front row back in the first race, but Eriksson trying to keep that inside line and make it to P10, and he certainly has.
Interestingly, if we take a look back up at the front, Solo has not been able to make any inroads. You can see they're just at the bottom of your screen as they made their way through the leaders. Solo has not been able to make any inroads on Allison. He's still leading this race, and Solo not able to catch him just yet, with half a dozen just behind in third. So staying single file at the front. We'll see when these 2 drivers that have not pitted decide to come down.
Yeah, it's also a fuel game now for them as well. Of course, they had a lot of cautions, but at some point they're going to run out of fuel, assuming they started with a full tank. You know, we were talking about lap 50 being a full tank worth of fuel. So we'll see how much they've been able to stretch that one out as Fredriksson Blix are batting just a little bit further up for that P4 as we come across the front straightaway. Look, loads of the Force drivers also batting themselves in towards turn 1 and 2. Eriksson now up into that 9th place ahead of his team boss, trying to get Erling in the 82 machine just up ahead of him. And this is working out really nicely. P6 Holmgren, he's the other driver. 43-lap-old tyres now as we hit the back straight.
Obviously been able to preserve them fairly well, as Haraldsson still leading this race now by 0.2 of a second. So doing a fantastic job.
Who is that on the outside line? Fredriksson there. The hood goes up into the air. He's had a massive issue there. Didn't quite catch what happened to him, but he's really dropping down here. Surely this has got to be a caution on lap 44. Yes, it is. We go back for about the 5th one of the day.
I don't think we got a caution for Fredriksson. I think we got a caution for something else.
Interesting. I mean, we are seeing there's that Broberg there, the 53, the 53 machine, but there was certainly a big accident happening there on that front row, and this has to be the time for Eriksson and Holmgren to come in. Surely, maybe for all the other drivers as well. We're into 40 laps to go now, but there's only 19 minutes left in the race. This has surely got to be your time to get those fresher tyres on, because I'm sure at this point we're going to be going to the time limit, which is getting very close indeed.
Yeah, we're looking at 21 minutes to go in this race. Every lap under caution adds 1 minute to the time it's going to take to complete the race. So basically, we've got 21 minutes now. That's about 42 laps. If you add a caution lap, you go down to 40 laps, right? Or 39, I guess, because you've already done a lap as well. So it does make a big difference, these laps of the caution. Every caution's adding about 5 minutes to the total race time, or it's taking away 5 minutes from the time that we have left. So it's getting dicey in terms of laps versus time. And I think with 20 minutes to go, everybody coming down into the pit lane pretty much, because, you know, you'll basically be able to make it to the end of the race from here.
Yeah, you certainly can. Whether it's going to be the fastest way or not, we'll have to see. It was all a bit of contact there for the 24. Lundberg trying to come in, as of course that part is collision. It's not in the in the sort of zone itself, and that has allowed the 13 to get ahead. So in the pit stop sequence, the 13 thanks to a bit of a help from Lundberg, intentionally or not. But the 24 couldn't quite get out into the fast lane and has lost a position as we go into 20 minutes to go here. So really at full pace, that's 40 laps. And we have 37 to go. So we are right, we're right on the limit here if we're going to get to the end. I would assume we're going to get more cautions though to the end. So I think this is going to be a time race. And I think that was exactly the right time to pit for all those drivers.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It definitely was the right time to pit. One thing I do want to have a look at, because we had the 20-car reverse grid for this race, is we'll grab up the timing tower, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the positions delta. How many positions has everyone gained or lost up to this point in the race? More or less halfway. We'll call it halfway through the race as it stands. And we'll take a look here. Take a look at Holmer.
The whole field, pretty much. Crazy. 29 places. Who else has done big moves? Aronson, he's made his way up very nicely. Erling, Ericsson. Remember Ericsson as well? Got himself back on the lead lap, hit at the same time as everyone else. He's legitimately there in that 8th place. What a stint. And the 3 drivers, is it the 3? No, it's the 2 drivers, first and second, they haven't stopped. So yes. Take 2 places of Ericsson. He's effectively sitting in 6th place. What a race, what a stint it's been for him so far. Definitely some big movers, some big losers as well. Of course, Fredriksson dropping down after that contact, losing the hood just now. Broberg as well, also dropping down. Lundell, of course, he's down 12 laps now out of the race. Unfortunately, involved in a big incident as well, I guess. Yeah, certainly an up and down race for a lot of these drivers.
Something else that maybe we can keep an eye on is in these pit stops. I do want to see what the last pit stop time was, because you've got Solomon and Aronson. I thought that would be a bit more different. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, they hadn't taken fuel then at that first pit stop, because otherwise, how would they have the same amount of time in the pits? Tires. I'm thinking out loud here. Tires must be the determining factor. Yeah,
tires must, because they did all 4. Yeah, tires must be the determining factor in that. You are correct, because that would have been a big stop in terms of fuel for all of the drivers going to the end. Having said that, did some of them under fuel slightly, maybe knowing that it's not going to go green flag to the end? But then, if we do. Well, actually, yeah, it's not going to go to the end, because also we have the opportunity for green, white checkers, but that has to be within the race time as well. So, yeah, maybe some people were under fueling. It's certainly a bit of an interesting strategic game here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We've got Gunnarsson and Holmer. They've stayed out, but of course they pit at previous caution. But what it does mean is they might need to pit to get to the end of the race, especially on the tyres. But for everyone else, they should be going to the end. We're inside 17 minutes to go. We shouldn't have enough time to get all the laps. So it is going to be a timed race from here to the end, but it is very, very close. I think if we go green flag to the end, we might be literally on that final lap bubble. We are very close within a lap or so. So let's see how this one works out. It's been a hectic racing evening here. We've had a 62 lap race, and we're now on to this second 83 lap race for the Roll the Dice by Trashcar Custom. And what a event it has been for round 5 and 6 of the Bohlin's Svenska Eracingligan. We've enjoyed every lap of it so far. But let's see how this one ends potentially. Are we going to go green flag to the end? We've got Gunnarsson in the number 1 machine taking us to the green flag here as we go green once more. Some of the Alcantech cars up towards the front, though, should be able to work together once more. We've got Solo in that 2nd place now. He's jumped Homer, I should say, on that outside line. As you're starting to see, the other drivers dive up the inside. That's Hafferson getting up to 3rd.
Yep, we are right on the cusp of time versus laps, and I can say that by my estimations, we are definitely on for a timed race at this point, so that's something that the drivers will have to keep in mind. We've got about 15 minutes remaining here as they come to start the 50th lap of this race.
Yeah, certainly, and we're looking at, in terms of flat-out racing, maybe 17 minutes to go, so we're 3 laps short of that one, so I think we are going to be going to the times session, and the drivers know that. So they have a couple of laps less to get to the front. And let's see how this one works out. On towards the back straightaway, we've got Gunnarsson, Solo, Havlinson, and Blixt. All can set top 4 as it stands, and it's flat out racing from here. They've all got the tyres, they've all got the fuel. And look at Jesper Eriksson there on the outside in that 5th place, working past his teammate, the number 24, and that is an awesome race so far from the 37. He's now behind his championship rival, Eric Blixt.
He certainly is, and has got the pace to keep going. Obviously, we know how many positions Ericsson has gained so far in this race, and shows absolutely zero sign of stopping that forward momentum. Already gaining right onto the back of Blixt, and you would expect to see that move being made relatively soon as well, as we are coming into the crunch time for this race, despite there still being 30 laps or so to go. Already drivers making their way down onto the apron as well.
Yeah, they just need to go pretty much flat out. It is still going to be around 30 laps from when we went back to green flag to the end, so it's still a fairly long stint. There will be a decent amount of drop-off, but the drivers know if we go green flag, this is the positions that you're fighting for. So that's why you're going to be seeing them push quite a lot. It looks like the lower line is being used for now. No one is going on that high line just yet to try and make an overtake, and the issue is for these two Force drivers of Ericsson and Arason, they know they are 2v4 effectively in terms of the teammates. Oh, was it a bit loose there from Solo on the exit of turn 2. Now, of course, being pushed by Havlinson in behind, but certainly not helping the rear tyres of that 13 machine. Through turns 3 and 4 now. Once again, they all keep down fairly low. I think this might be the point of the race. It might take 5 laps or so just to get themselves back in the rhythm of racing, try and pull away from that mid-pack, because it seems like they've lost Erling in that 7th place so far. Although I say that, the 24, he goes up a bit high. He tries to come back past his teammate, goes side by side with him down this back straight.
That he does, keeping the high line up there and maybe trying to use it as a slingshot to get past Blixt. Look at the speed that he's got now, and I think he just about misses out on the overlap, but that very nearly worked. To the inside now, gets the draft from the car in front, and the teammates will work together on that outside lane. That's going to allow Araldson now to get maybe up into 3rd position as he looks to the inside. Very close stuff.
Yeah, nice stuff from the 24. Drop back initially for the first couple laps, maybe just taking it slightly easier, but now he is full attack up towards the inside, maybe of turn 3. Blixt has to come down to defend that one as they're pushing each other down to the white line with the different racing lines being used here, and it's certainly a good one. But what that does is it just slows the drivers down slightly. So the top 3, top 2 starting to pull away by a few car lengths. That could be important for now, but still high-speed racing from these drivers.
I know how close to the wall some of the drivers are getting, especially a bit further back in the pack where they're going side by side. Risks being taken. Now's the time to do it, because we're getting fairly close now to the point where a caution could end the race, and we've only got maybe a few minutes left of guaranteed restarts in this one. So very close to the point where the drivers are going to have to take those huge risks to try and keep their positions and make their way forwards as well. But for a driver like Ericsson, you're up into 6th position. I think that's higher than you ever could have imagined at the start of this race. Are you going to risk it to keep that position? I think at this point, those points that you've got are good enough that you can afford to lose 1 or 2.
Yeah, potentially you have to start thinking about that, but then in a championship, every single point is going to count by the end of it. We have a 15-round regular season, so a lot of points on offer. But when you 750 if you win all of the races, then add on all of the bonus points as well. But it will literally come down to a couple of points, I'm sure, between some of these positions, especially those looking to get inside the top 15 in the championship to go into the playoffs after that round 15 at Talladega. It's certainly going to be a big factor for those drivers. So definitely something to think about. I don't think we're at that conservative point of the season just yet.
I'm just looking to see with the points, they have won a race, right? So they have got themselves locked into the playoffs already. The only points that matter at this point for them really are playoff points. They're only going for the win in this race, so I guess he's going to keep going and see what he can make of it with these 10 minutes left at Las Vegas, and all sorts of loose as Blix there, and that's going to allow Arlson to get through. Is Ericsson going to be able to follow him by? He gets up alongside Blix as they make their way to turns 1 and 2.
Certainly does. Ericsson, of course, trying to get past his championship rival through the form of his teammate, the 24, going up the inside in towards turn 3. No, doesn't have the momentum, but he does dive there up the inside. Blixt is now just blocked off a little bit by his teammate Hamilton in front. As Ericsson goes to the high line, he tries to get around the outside of his teammate. Look at the momentum he had on that outside line, drops down to cover off the 24. And it just shows you how these different lines really make a huge difference with the momentum that you can get, as he should be able to get Eric Blix maybe the inside of the 81 of Hafliverson as well. Solo comes down, maybe not by choice, as they're all running wide up in towards the wall on the exit of turn 2.
Incredible stuff here with 9 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock. It keeps ticking down, almost contact between Ericsson and now Hafliverson. Sorry, I'm going to get that one wrong. 81 Cup. Up the inside, they're almost 3 wide now. This is ridiculous racing here.
It certainly is. They're getting so close inside the final 10 minutes. They know the laps are starting to come down. So that's going to be at 19 laps to go. Almost contact between them. Bit of a wiggle there from Ericsson as well. And look who's getting involved in this. Erling. He's now actually trying to challenge the 24. Coming up the inside though. The 24 is looking, half looking inside his teammate, the number 37. As these guys are really starting to go for everything there. Now they have nothing to lose really at this stage. As long as they don't wreck, they just need to go for these positions.
Looking once again now towards the inside, but the problem with the inside line is you've got a car up high, you're going to scrub off the speed and you're going to lose out on the back straight. You really want to be up high to get a run down the back straight, and once you get over towards a tri-oval at the front of the circuit as well. But yeah, that inside line, you can get up alongside, absolutely, and then just drop back further and further. So it's going to be interesting to see these 3 teammates working together to try and keep Ericsson behind, because they know what it can do for a championship.
And the championship is what they are all going for. Coming up to 8 minutes to go here at Las Vegas. Up the inside it is for the 24 of Arlson. The 37 of Ericsson is trying to go both sides there of Hafliverson, and that might work actually for the 37. He's got the run. He's following the 95 through, because Solo's had a bit of an issue on the exit. 3 wide we go. Up the inside for Ericsson, who makes a double move there in 3 and 4. Gets up the inside of Blix as well, up into second place. What an important move for the 37 if he can hold it.
3 for 1, and takes the second position as well if he can hold on to it and try and make a move at Gunnarson, who has started to drop back slightly. This could be huge. He could get himself a nice 3 playoff points here. 5 even.
Yeah, this could be very big indeed, because of course Ericsson lost out loads of points in that first race. Of course, with the win, as you say, it is going to help him, but the playoff points and everything and the way it's going to work in terms of your position later on is going to be very important indeed. And these are, of course, the races that he doesn't want to let other people get some extra points that he's fighting for later on in the championship. Up the inside for Blix, though, it might be up the inside of his teammate, the number 1 machine it is. The 95 is going to go towards the front. Does he have the speed and the momentum to come up and cover that one off? We think he might just about do so. Yes, he does, by half a car, as the 37 and the 95 going for the championship together, and they might be 1 and 2 in just a couple of laps time.
So obviously this team, they don't want Ericsson to win the race. However, you'd probably want Gunnarson to win a race and get yourself locked into the playoffs, you would expect, because he's definitely not secure in the playoffs as it stands now. So I would expect the team to want the number 1 car, the reigning champion, of course, to want to get into the playoffs with the opportunity that he has now. Unfortunately, he's been put into second place, and now, side by side with Ericsson, gets put down to 3rd.
I don't know if he's going to have the tyres to hold on to this one, potentially. Looks like he's going backwards in terms of speed. The 37, that is going to be tight on the exit of turn 2. He's going to come up. He's going to try and cover off the number 1. The number 1 slides a little bit through turn 2, but 37 is through. Ericsson from back to front, almost up into second place, chasing down the 95. Number 1 there on the inside, tries to cover off the 24, as Hafliverson is getting a run on the outside line as well. Look at this, between all of the drivers. They're moving over. They're changing lanes. They're trying to find space for their cars. They're inside the final 6 minutes now at Las Vegas.
And with 6 minutes to go, I am pretty sure a caution right now could end this race. We'll see. We'll wait and see if we get one. But right into crunch time now, and they are still side by side down the back stretch into 3 and 4.
What racing we've had here at Las Vegas. Really enjoyed this one so far. It's just so tight. It's on the limit. They are pushing everything they can within their cars, within their tyres so far. And as it stands, it's Blix, Ericsson and Aronson on your podium. Gunnarsson, Haflidarsson batting out for that P4. And it looks like they might just start to go backwards. The 2 Force cars are coming for this victory. They're going to try and take it off Blix, but Blix is looking so strong. He's won 2 races this season. We know what he can do, but can he hold on inside this final 5 minutes?
And now here's a question as well. Some lapped cars get involved with things. Can Aronson help out Ericsson to get up into the lead of the race? Obviously, some bump drafting potentially could also grab Aronson the opportunity at a 2nd position or even a race victory here and confirm himself into the playoffs. We'll wait and see what they do as lap cars coming out of the pits as well getting involved. Ericsson looking to go side by side now with Aronson. They're not helping each other out. They are. He lets him through, and we'll see what happens now. Aronson possibly on much nicer tyres at this stage.
And there might be a situation like you were mentioning a bit earlier, maybe teammates-wise, you want to get another one of your teammates getting a win, locking themselves into that top 15 in the playoff that comes with that. That might be what's happening. The 24s look fast all day, had that strategy to stay out through multiple of those cautions, get the stage victory back on lap 35. We're on lap 57 now of 83. We're not going to make it to the end of the 83 laps, so it's going to be the 4 laps to go. And it's certainly high-intensity racing up towards the front. It's going to be about 8 laps to go as we come across the line. Aronson gets the run on the 95. He's closing in. He's getting up the inside in towards turn 1. Blix, is he going to be able to defend, though, on that high line? We've seen it working rather nicely, but the 24, he's going for the victory. He's going for the lead. Side by side, they continue onto the back straight.
You can see absolutely nothing between these drivers now as they make their way side by side. Blix on the outside, Aronson on the inside, gets the run. Can he slide up in front? Yes, he can. He's got the advantage and takes that first position. Now has to hold on for about 7 laps.
Oh, he certainly does, but he's got the pace, hasn't he? Look how much they've stretched this gap up towards the front. The solo's completely gone off this top 6, I should say. Erling has kept up with them, but Gunnarsson, he's dropped off. He was in the lead of the race for so long. Oh, big slide there, big wobble for Haflidarsson coming onto this back straightaway. They're really starting to feel the effects of the tyres now, and it's really getting to an important time for these guys as they try and hold on.
This could be crucial for the championship hopes of the 24, of course. Getting yourself locked in to the playoffs at the end of the season is just such a relief off your shoulders as well. It's massive for your confidence for the rest of the championship, at least the regular season. You know you're fighting over playoff points, and if you have a bad result, it doesn't matter all that much. So we'll see. Now, here's a question. Can Blix hold on to that 2nd position as he's now almost going side by side with Ericsson?
It certainly is as we're coming up towards 2 minutes to go. And these top 3 seem to be fairly sorted. They've got a nice gap to Haflidarsson, who can't seem to hold on. And he's going to have a big battle with Gunnarsson there, his teammate, for that 4th place. But out onto this back straight, Aronson is able to hold on. He's got about 5-6 car lengths on Blix. It's working out really well for him so far. And coming up towards the line, the laps are going to count down even more. And he's looking very strong to hold on to this. Does Blix have anything to come back?
Well, this could be what we're seeing now. He's got 3 laps, or 4 laps even, to try and make something happen as we tick down the seconds. Maybe trying to hold off for a couple laps, keep in the draft, keep himself up there, and then go all out for a couple of laps. We'll see. But as they come across the line in a few moments' time, they'll have 3 laps to go here for Aronson to hold on to this victory.
Yeah, it certainly will be. And some drivers, of course, losing out on some points today. Linus Broström is down in 23rd place. And that is going to be potentially an important win that he's losing out. But up the inside, Ericsson goes. As we come towards the final minute, does he have enough tyres to make it a 4-1-2 up towards the front? Does Blix have enough to hold on down this back straightaway? He has the momentum on the outside line, but the 37 is looking for that 2nd place with just 1 minute to go.
He's definitely still looking for it. 2 laps to go across the line now. He's looking for a switch back down towards the low lane. Neither of them opting for the apron, but through turns 1 and 2, it'll be single file once again.
And this is going to be a big battle between these, because not only is it a bit of a championship battle, but in general it's just a momentum battle as well. This is Ericsson showing that he can have some issues earlier on. He can come from the back, and it's just who's going to lead the momentum going in towards round 7 of the championship in a couple of weeks' time. Obviously over a third of the way through the regular season as we come on to the final lap of the race. Ericsson, he's made 29 places in this race. He might be able to win. He's got to hold on for another 1.5 miles. Blix and Ericsson are batting out for this second place, but it looks like it might be Blix who's just about going to hold on. He has a few car lengths over the 37 on towards the back straight into turns 3 and 4 on the 24 machine. He's got the stage victory, and he just needs one more corner to go before he takes victory here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The roll the dice by Trashcar Custom, and it certainly was a roll of the dice. He stayed out, he got the stage win, and now he's locked himself into the playoffs with the race victory in the 24 machine. Alexander Ericsson, what a drive from him. Blix and Ericsson round out your podium after a very exciting evening of racing here in Las Vegas.
What a last few laps. After that last caution, we had green to the end, and absolutely fantastic racing from everybody in that top sort of 4, 5, 6 drivers. Beautiful stuff, and what a way to get yourself into the playoffs as well with that race victory, the race leading overtake right there at the end.
And some very well-deserved donuts from that 24. He controlled that race so well, had it covered by all means. And from a driver who coming into this race, trying to see where he was in the championship, he was quite way down, yet 11th place in the championship was Ericsson, and now has locked himself in, just showing you how important these wins are going to be, and really great stuff, to be honest. And there is Linus Broström coming in. Unfortunate for him, he was looking so strong, but unfortunately got involved with one of the cautions, and the 71 machine had to, just recover from the back there. But also a Dane, Blix and Ericsson, what a battle for them, the championship contenders. It's really going to be an awesome season. We ended up with 80 laps in the end, so just 3 laps shy of the 83 due to all the cautions that we had. But it was Ericsson, Blix and Ericsson, your top 3, separated by just 1 second. Hafliderson and Gunnarsson inside your top 5, with Erling, the 82 machine, inside your top 6. Solo, Holmer, Bohlin and Holmgren round out your top 10. Really good showings from Holmgren and Bohlin today over the course of those 2 races. Oscar Fredriksson got the fastest lap on lap 40, getting a bonus point for that as well. Bratberg, Helmbro, Johansson, Schott, Lindorf round out your top 15, with Zakrasson, Schupp, Carlin, Fragrel, and the other Broström, the father there, Bjorn Broström, in the 42 machine, rounds out your top 20. We'll let the other couple of pages just roll through and mention a couple of the drivers. Linus Broström there finished on the lead lap, but in P23 in the end. Marcus Hagman, he was up there towards the front at some point as well. Lundell from the front of this race finished 12 laps down, unfortunately for him. But certainly it'll be good to catch up with some of these drivers. So let's bring them into the commentary booth and get some words from the drivers of the podium today here at Las Vegas. We'll start with Alexander Ericsson in the number 24 machine. And Alex, what a race. You controlled that so well, the stage win and then the race win, locking you into the playoffs. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, thank you. It feels great. It feels great to bounce back from that first race, which I felt I had in my hand, basically, if it had gone green. To be taken out like that, that really sucks, So and then starting the second race for 30th place isn't optimal, obviously. But I played a bit of pit strategy there, staying out when the rest of the field pitted, and I was able to maintain the lead after that until I was within my pit window to get to the end, and thankfully the rest of the field needed to pit as well at that time, so that played into my hands.
Yeah, let's talk about that stage, actually, because, you stayed out as long as you could. Was there any chance of you going into the pit lane, or were you completely committed to getting those extra 10 bonus points?
Yeah, no, not a chance. I mean, I started in 30th, as I said, and I think when the rest of the field pitted, I was in 24th, so I needed to do something different to advance. And, I've been running, really slowly back there and saving my tires, so I was pretty confident of being able to hold on to the lead for quite a while.
Yeah, you managed to... to be honest, we were pretty surprised actually with your pace at the end. Do you think because we had so many cautions that helped? Because at one point we were looking at about a 20-lap run to the end of the stage. And do you think you would have really struggled at that point? Or do you think it was the stages that helped you?
No, not really. I mean, I had a really fast Moby Hubba, like Camaro all week, so I was pretty confident with my speed. So, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. And congratulations on your, 2 victories tonight, the stage and the race win, locking yourselves in the playoff.
Yeah, I needed that. Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff. What racing we've had this evening, but it did not end with Alexander. In the end, Eric Blixt, of course, your championship leader, coming into this race in the 95 machine. Eric, what a race for you as well. You went up, you went down, you had all sorts of things going on, but in the end, you got second place.
Yeah. We just tried to make the tires last for a full stint. It was really hard to predict it actually, and predict how much pace you were actually putting on the tires. Alex ended up having a little bit better tire wear there in the end. I think he might have dropped back to cool him down. I'm just happy I managed to hold Jesper behind me.
Yeah, in that last stint, you had your, of course, championship rival, Jesper, coming from the back of the grid, recovering well. Were you, I mean, he almost got you with 2 laps to go as well. Were you confident, or was that right on the limit?
I mean, I didn't race him during the race because he wasn't here in time. So I didn't really know what he had on his tires and how he was going to use them up. But I saw him wash up a few times, and then I knew that his right front was pretty much screwed. So I felt pretty confident the last 2-3 laps, even though my right front were also going pretty bad, but yeah, at least was a little bit better than Jesper's.
Yeah, it was certainly a good racer. Congratulations on your second place.
Thanks.
And lastly, we'll bring in Jesper Eriksson after an incredible comeback there. Jesper, well, first we'll talk about seemingly we didn't quite see what happened. You're obviously having some issues there in that first race and weren't able to make it to the end.
I'm not going to say that I had problems, because when the first race started, I was at a stand-up watching. So I kind of planned missing the first race. I didn't plan missing the second race. So when it was gridding, I texted Oscar, like, how much of the gridding is left? And he was like, just 30 seconds. I was like, I need to go over 60 miles an hour on the road now. I need to go home. So I was not at home when the race started.
That is that's a bit of a shame for you to miss out on that one. But good stuff, actually, coming back and then calming yourself down for the second race. So let's talk about that, of course, starting from the back of the field. And did it all just come down to that caution, that perfectly timed caution where you got the lead lap back? Yeah,
to be honest, those cautions at the beginning, they really, without them, my race wouldn't have been looking like it did. I just drove out of the pits when I came home and just hoped there would be cautions to get me onto the lead lap, and they came, and then it was just steady on rolling forward from that.
And using this momentum from that race, clearly you've got some great speed in you. What are you going to look out for over the next couple of races? Of course, you lock yourself into the playoff with the win, but what more is there you can do now over the next few races?
I'm probably going to try to prioritize helping my teammates win and lock as many people into the playoffs as possible. Otherwise, I'm just going to go for the win myself, because that's why we're here. Everyone wants to race. Everyone wants to win. Get as many stage wins as possible and just make the playoffs as easy as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's a pretty crazy evening for you. So, well
absolutely.
Done. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Wow, what an evening we've had here, and Jesper Eriksson not even being there at the start of the race and still getting third place. Awesome stuff. But that, of course, is only about a third of the way through the season. We have 15 races coming for the regular season from, of course, Daytona all the way to Talladega in February, where we round out your top 15. We go to Phoenix next as well. 250 mile race there for the AA Grand Prix 250. It's going to be a very interesting one there as well, I am sure. Before we work our way all the way through, we have another doubleheader at North Wilkesboro as well for round 12 and 13. And after what we saw today, I think the doubleheaders are going to be a lot of fun. Then, of course, the playoffs to end the season in March, April, and May 2024. We can't wait for that one. The Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan has been a lot of fun so far, but that wraps it up here from Las Vegas. The Roll the Dice by Trashcar Custom was won by a driver rolling the dice, which is exactly what we look forward to. It's been myself, Cameron Roger, we've had Dane Baird on the production behind the scenes and coming into the commentary booth at the end, and of course Justin Prince for the first race as well. We thank you for watching and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.